Hello everybody, it's your non-binary pal E.V.A here, and today we're making gay angels, also known as rainbow angels. This art series is inspired by the aesthetic of black, white, and rainbow. I've always loved this color palette and wanted to create something with it. I started out with some thumbnailing like I usually do, but while I was doing that, something happened. I made a couple of different thumbnails and found myself liking all three of them, so I decided why not make this an art series. And since I've been practicing planning out my artworks more, I made some quick sketches of each of the figures' designs. Because I'm me, I designed them all as non-binary alien god beings, with each one having a unique take on the original prompt. I'll talk about each one's designs when we get to it, but once I was done at the planning stage, I chose a design for each thumbnail and sketched them out. I sketched all of them out together, and I didn't color them in since I already figured out the color palettes while planning. For these, I actually decided to try doing all the stages together, even though I'm not showing it that way, to see if it would make the process and consistency of each better. And it did, but I might not do this too much in the future since I like working on individual. Also, quick announcement, usually around this time I do something different with my Sona, whether it's redesigning it or something else, and I'm excited to say I didn't redesign my Sona, but I did redraw the sprites. Okay, maybe I did redesign them just a little bit, but yeah. Anyway, I decided to go with the first thumbnail I sketched for the first drawing. I thought the way they had their arm up and the way they were looking worked for this design. For their look, I gave them long wavy hair with that one hairstyle that's always hard for me to shade, but that's okay. Separated arms with droplets connecting them, and red strings wrapped around with a loincloth for their outfit. I ended up adding these floating orbs around their belt, and some top surgery scar-like markings that point towards their eyes, which I placed on the torso. Since these are very alien and also slightly inspired by biblical angels, all of them have eyes in different places. Rather than having them on the face, they have a drippy halo that goes around their face, which I ended up really loving. Their wings are placed lower on their back, which I ended up doing for all of these, and for the placement of the colors, I went with black for the skin, white for the hair, which transitioned into a rainbow, and then rainbow on the wings, halo, eyes, and the flowing orbs. I decided partway through working on these that each one should have a unique unifying color, and by that I mean an overlay color over the base colors, which would influence the color of the shading as well. For this one, I went with gold. Before the shading, I worked on the background a bit, trying to figure out what I wanted to do for each one. I ended up adding rainbow ripples for the pond underneath them, a rainbow circle with diamonds behind their head to create a extra halo effect, and a really cool frame I found on the Clip Studio asset library, and rain, all of these being rainbow colored. The rendering went fine on this one, although the white color of the hair was still a bit hard to work with. I've always struggled with that. I also did a lot of overpainting, which covered up a lot of the hatching I did in the hair, but oh well. I added a bit more shine to the halo and eyes to make them appear glossy, and the one thing I don't really like is that I feel like one of the wings ended up being too long, but that might just be a perspective thing. Regardless though, even though this one did give me a bit of trouble, I really liked how it ended up looking, and the rainbow spots that I ended up adding here, I ended up doing similar things with the other drawings, and yeah, the influence of this one doing a gold overlay made me also want to do different unifying colors for the other ones, and you'll see those in a little bit. I haven't come up with any lore for these character designs at all. They could be like their own alien race or something. I don't even have names for them, so if you have any ideas for names, that'd be cool, or any ideas for lore, that's cool too. Right now in my head, they're just some sort of alien race far out of reach, you know, sort of like a Star Trek thing where it's like a very godlike alien race sort of thing. And any of my other alien creatures that I've made before, maybe they're all the same species. Maybe that's the lore. second drawing ended up being in a much more complex pose. The design for this one has a bit more emphasis on the clothes, which unfortunately does get covered up a bit by the pose, but I chose this one to show off the eyes I put on their arms and a halo across their body. I gave them long black sleeves and blue straps. For their hair, I gave a long droopy style with the colors being shown on the underside. They also have some devil horns and they do have an eye on their face, but with a solid glossy look. While drawing them here, I had a hard time deciding where to place the wings, and I ended up drawing both of them behind the character. I also decided, in order not to obscure the pose too much, that the sleeves should be slightly see-through, which I made the illusion of by just keeping the line under the hand and arm there. For the flat colors, I went with the exact opposite hair and skin-wise with the last one, so white for the skin, black for the hair, except for the underside, and I also added some rainbow on their sleeves. And I decided to increase the brightness of all the rainbow colors here to give it a more pastel look. And for the overlay color, I went with the blue. This definitely gave this one a much sadder vibe, which I think definitely gets amplified with the hair and eye shape, just like the last one I worked on in the background first, although I did add some more ripple effects on the pond, which I forgot to add to the first one. I actually think I finished this one first out of all of them, so yeah, forgot to do that. Shading was easier to work on, hair-wise especially, and something I wanted to do with each of these was blend the rainbow colors together in different ways, and I played around with that here before I did the rendering. I kind of didn't end up with one specific way. I did like a smear thing on the sleeves, but then did something different with the other places. I do like how this one ended up looking overall. It's definitely very calming. I think it's very nice and calming. My only thing is maybe the color on the sleeves draws your eyes too much towards that area, and it's not really the focal point or anything. But yeah, let me know what you think of that. I can try to fix that if it's too much. And yeah, like I said, blue vibe, very calm, kind of sad. At first I thought the blue was actually a bit too much for this. I don't think so though. I think I was just so used to the gold coloring that I added for the first one, and I think the gold definitely works really well with the rainbow, but blue also works too. Let me know if you have a name in mind for this one. And yeah, the wings were a bit harder to draw on this one, but not one of them isn't longer than the other. So there's that. There is that. If you're enjoying this video so far, I have some more content on my Patreon, which includes everything behind the scenes and early access to my work. I also have some extra stuff on my website, which includes prints of these artworks. All of that is in the description if you'd like to check that out. And now for the third drawing. For this one, I incorporated some of the elements of the first two, as well as some original elements like the hair shape and the skin sparkles, which I add later. They have a much more traditional halo that's just above their head, which also swirls slightly. Swirling around them are also these rainbow colored droplets. I thought that was a fun addition, especially with all the water elements in all of these drawings. Similar to the first design, they have separated limbs, this time the legs, and they have eyes placed on their legs and their forehead. They have some of the most normal facial features as well, with 2 eyes and a mouth. I also gave them some black and white straps for clothes with a wraparound sash and an outline conveying a sash around the waist. I also gave them these floating ring bracelets, kind of inspired by my Saturn design I made a while ago. And for the colors, I went with gray for the skin, with the limbs fading to black for the skin sparkles, and a split black and white hair. I tried to place a different rainbow color on each lock, but it did take me a while to choose where to place them and also how to blend them because, like I said, I was trying to blend all of these in different ways. And I think out of all of these, the wings ended up being my favorite. I actually did a combo of black and white, and in all of these, the wings start as the color of the skin and then transition into the rainbow. And for this one, I did a combo of black and white as well. For their overlay color, it was a bit hard to choose at first. At first I was going to go with purple, but that ended up being too close to the second drawing, so I went with a magenta / pink to blend in better with the warms and cools of the others. I also placed saturated and desaturated rainbows in the different areas here to blend in with the other two. And before rendering them, I placed the background and added in the skin sparkles. Originally, I was going to place those just on the limbs, but decided to place them all over. And the final thing for this is I placed the rain particles in the opposite direction, just for fun, just for a little fun. The pose is a bit different from the others. It's a bit more fun, a bit more playful, which I think works for this design. I think all of them have very, I think all of them have very different personalities that I hopefully conveyed well. You got the more probably more powerful and stern character in the first drawing, the more sadder, maybe somber character in the second one, and this one's a bit more hopeful, a bit more joyful, stuff like that. Again, let me know what you think overall of the names and stuff. That can be a fun thing. Thank you so much for watching. I hope everyone's had a good Pride Month so far. Like I said, I have some stuff up on my website / shop, including prints of these, and I also have my comics in the description as well. And if you want to see more videos like this, you can subscribe. That'd be cool. But yeah, everything is in the description as far as social stuff. One last thing is that for next week, and it won't be a full video, it's just going to be an announcement thing. But if you know what's coming up soon, then you probably already know what I'm talking about. So yeah, that'll be next week's video, and that'll be everything from me now. So yeah, I'll see you next week in my next video. Bye.